Hello and good evening, maybe good morning or good afternoon, where you are tuned in to the Neoteran Herald Weekly. This is your weekly astrology guide, and this day, this is the 20th episode in this continuing series. This is we are coming to you as we approach the tail end of 39th week in the Neoteran calendar, and as you may have observed, which is about 1 hour and about 10 minutes, or therefore from the point at which we make the astrological entrance into the 39th week of our calendar. It's a 51 calendar, and that means we have together with this week, we have 12 weeks more to go before we enter the 7th year of our calendar. And this is a very, very significant moment in time, as you're going to discover, quite more significant than any, possibly, certainly one of the episodes that we have covered in the past. And this will come out clearly even as we enter into the actual highlights of the moments in time that mark the nature of the day that we are at. And as always, my name is your astrologer, Jorogewa Hobewargogo, and we are going to jump headlong into the episode. Hope you can get me clearly. One thing is we are coming to you not at the usual time. We are coming a little bit later than usual, and this is not a per se live episode. We are recording just about 30 minutes or so towards the tail end of the week, but the times are perfect when you'll be receiving this episode and when you see the time displayed there as it is 1 hour 8 minutes 17 seconds 14 seconds now, 13. That is the exact time where the Townet Standard will receive the celestial signal that signifies the beginning of the first day of the 39th week in the Neoteran calendar. So you're in a good position. Remember, at the very end, we are going to speak words that will signify the kind of transformative, creative reality that you'll experience in your week. It doesn't matter what sort of activity, what sort of engagement, what sort of focus you're going to put your energies and your efforts to. So here we are. We're going to go and look at the week, and the first thing is, let's start for that last week. Let's start with week number 38, and these are the highlights or the major the dimensions of the planets as you were last week, starting with the major planet, which is the sun. We're looking at towards the exit of house 9. We're looking at the moon making its entry to Hermes, the elder planet Mars in the midway of house 8, where it was under influence of the planet Aries, the host Aries, but because house the Neoteran celestial house 8 is what we call a chimeric house, it was equally influenced by the by the host Behemoth, and we have Mercury and Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, the entire solar point, Vesta, Ceres, Uranus, Neptune, and Aries, as well as the DC node and the AC node in that order, as they are indicated. Those are the various dimensions they had. And other than looking at that, of course, we also look at the planetary order that was there last week. And this is the order of the planets. We have looked at them in the order of their precedent in the terms of significant creative programming that we've given out to these planets and planetary bodies and points in the celestial heavens. But this is the order in which they will appear. If you're looking from the first house of the celestial heavens, looking towards the second, third, fourth, as they progress up to the 12th house, and in between these, and in those 12 houses, we have 13 hosts arranged in various patterns. This is how you'd have seen them. In the first house, you would not have a planet. In the celestial house, there would not be a planet. But in the third celestial house, you'd find the anti-solar point. The point that is right opposite the sun, it would have been towards the exit of that house, and it would have its host as Ophiuchus, because that is the host that occupies the tail part, the part of the celestial house 3. Then you have planet Pluto, in Cabell, house 5, house 4 would not have a planetary body. Then you go to house 6, you'd get one board, but a planetary body, planetary point, the ascending node of the moon, the lunar ascending node in house 6. And then you go to house 7, which you call Zelda, and there will be a conglomeration of a lot of planets. Housed exactly there would be Neptune. The moon would be joining. Vesta, Saturn would also be there, and Aries would just be at the division between house 7 and 8. Remember, what we were talking about is the multiplanetary conjunction that is within Habizar and has been there in this season of the Neoteran Herald Weekly ever since we began. And I hope that my voice is audible. I wanted to just be certain that I was not recording a blank, and I am certain that I am recording properly. Thank you. Sorry for that small foray into, just an administrative task. So that is the multiplanetary conjunction that was continuing at the nation in which they had last week. And then we have a house 8, one body there that was stationed in house 8, and you have Uranus in house 9. But still within close influence of house 8, and more or less that's what you should expect it to be, because Uranus is not a very very planetary, very transitory body. We have Ceres, the sun in house number 9, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, DC nodes. But remember, this is within week 38, the week that is ending this very evening with the sunset, and we begin the first day of the week of week number 39. So what are they? Where are the dimensions now? What are the dimensions of the planets for this week? We go into that part, and let's look at the planetary dimensions in the order of how the planets are ordered. You see, the sun here is still within house 9, but well to the exit. The moon has moved, and now we are talking of, remember, this is not the present moment, but it's the middle of the week. Sunrise on Wednesday, the second day of the 10th month. We are still in the 9th month today. Today is the 24th day, and you have 29 days. You still have 5 days to go to mark the, or rather, we are on the verge of 25th day. We still have about 4 days to go to the end of this week, to the end of the 9th month. Okay? But here we're talking about where we will be at the midpoint of the week. The sun will be in house 9 towards the exit. The moon will be just at the cusp of house 10 and 11. Mars will be there in house 8. Mercury. And this is the order in which they are. So to get a much better picture about the arrangement of the planetary bodies, let's look at the planetary order. These planetary dimensions, not given by the order of creative precedence of the planets, so that we begin with the 7 major planets. We have the 6 major planets, book headed by these transitory celestial bodies, one that is relation with the sun, and the DC node and the AC node that bring their character from the cycle of the moon, the draconic cycle of the moon. Therefore, that's the ratio of the planets as they are going to be. But to get a much better, clearer picture is that we look at the planets. Let's look at the planetary map. We use a projection format to show wherever the planets are. And we need to look at, first of all, at the planetary order. Let's look at the planetary order before we go to the planetary maps. And this is the planetary order where the planets are. Again, the anti-solar point, still to the exit of house number 3. We have Pluto, the next in house Cabell. Again, house 4, house 1 and house 2, celestial houses 1, Neoteran celestial house 2, and Neoteran celestial house 4 don't have any planetary body at this point in time. But Cabell has this planetary body that has been there for the last almost 4 years, keeping tabs in that very essential, creatively priestly and very consequential house in our understanding. One of the things that happened is that ever since we moved into the era regnum, into this dispensation, there's never been a point in time, not a day, not a week, not a second, where there has not been a planetary body within Kabel. And that is going to continue for quite a while, up until this cycle of the years that we are counting is nearly over. That is when we're going to speak about House Kabel not having a planetary body that can be programmed for our success and for our progression. So we're talking about Neptune next. So this is again the multi-planet conjunction in Habizelda. It has changed its characteristic somewhat because, as you can see, there is no the moon here. We're talking about Habizelda, the planets there. This Neptune, Saturn, and Vesta. Remember, Saturn and Vesta were in conjunction, and as you can see, they are still within conjunction because if you look at their longitude, what they are within 1 degree. Actually, they are very, very tightly conjoined together. This Saturn and Vesta, as he said, is a planet conjunction that will attain its perfect alignment just within this week number 39. That's something we spoke of as a highlight last week. Aries is here at the entry, at the point, the midway, the division, the cusp of House Habizelda and house number 8. And that means that it has within its influence the influence of Pisces, which is a host that dominates Habizelda, and also the exit division of house number 6. And then you have house number 8, the entry of which is dominated by Aries. Mars is the next planet, and that is within house number 8, the exit, pretty much where we left it last week. And as I said about Uranus, pretty much where it was in the cusp or the division between house number 9 and house number 8. Then you have planet Ceres. House Ceres is in house 9. That was the entry division of that house. And of course, house 9 is entirely dominated by the behemoth. The sun is also in house 9, but now towards the exit. So the conjunction we're talking of is no longer enforceable now as you go into this week, or at least at the middle point of the week. And then you have planet Mercury making its point. And this is something very significant because last week we talked about planet Mercury being in ultrasolar prograde. Now, what's going to happen towards the middle of the week is that planet Mercury will have reached the farthest extent of its ultrasolar separation, about 24 or 25 degrees. That is as much far as the planet Mercury can separate itself and go move in the opposite direction of the sun as an evening star. So this time we are talking about planet Mercury having this face, where this column, this dimension, gives us the planetary face or junction. And they can be both, especially if it is a synodic planet. Synodic planet is not just enough to give us its face, but we also, if it is at a junction, we need to give both the junction and the face, because it is the faces that are programmable. The junctions themselves do not have synodic programming, and that is why we use a stroke. This is something new that we have already defined and brought to the system just a couple of weeks ago. So this UST means ultrasolar standstill. So Mercury will be a standstill. Remember, there was a time planet Pluto was at standstill, but that was a tropical standstill. This is a synodic standstill. Very different characteristic. If you want some more information, of course, you can ask us and we will give you the guidance to understand what's more you can, these sort of junction and indications are about. So Then you have the moon at the midpoint of the week, at the cusp of house 10 and 11. It will, of course, be as towards the exit of house 10 and the entry point of house number 11. And of course, its host will be both Gemini in the exit of house number 10 and the entry of house number 11 is Cancer. The same is true of Jupiter. As you're going to see, there's going to be a conjunction of the moon and Jupiter. Then you have Venus in the entry point of house 11. Still moving on with its astrasolar prograde. If you look at its synodic separation, this astrasolar separation, 38 degrees, we are less than 10 degrees to the point where planet Venus is going to be reach its maximum separation. Again, it will move to a point where it can no longer manage to extricate itself from the embrace of the sun, and it will begin its retrograde motion in maybe 1 or 2 months' time and move back to the embrace of the sun, and that will be the conclusion of the Venus synodic cycle and the beginning of a new one. What it means for you is different things. Somebody, that kind of motion is good, that kind of transition is good. For others, it's a bit indifferent, neither too good but not bad at all. So that still allows you to continue with certain creative activities. It just happens that in this time, our community and the people who have been seeing me have been really being concerned about Jupiter and Venus. Then again, something important. Jupiter and Venus, they were in conjunction last week, but that conjunction was ending, I think, 2 days ago. So they are not per se in conjunction, but they'll be soon in good conjunction. Jupiter is moving to the point where it will be in house 11. And this is a very important thing, and we're going to talk about it. So let me not maybe mention that here, because it's one of our major highlights for this week. And then, of course, the descending node of the moon is within house 12. And if you look at the specific meshes, we're talking about 22 hours, 15 minutes. This would mean, like, if it was a normal planet, which moves in prograde fashion, this would be just meaning we're just really progressing inwards. We're not heading to any particular junction. But this one is just 15 minutes, just 1 degree. Just not 15 minutes, but actually 3 degrees. 3 minutes rather, because by the time it gets to 22 hours and 12 minutes, why will it get into 22 hours and 12 minutes? While at this point in time, it has an extra 15 minutes to the 22-hour indication. That's because the lunar nodes, both the descending and the ascending nodes, don't move in prograde fashion, they move in retrograde. And the retrograde motion of the DC node, that means in the next few months, possibly at the end of a year, but maybe a little bit earlier, we will get a transition of the lunar nodes, a transit of the lunar nodes, changing houses and hosts. And the DC node will be moving towards house 11. Actually, by the end of the year, it will be, whether it will not have close, but it will be close enough to be within influence of house number 11. I think that is happening in retrograde. That is why we're moving from the 12th house to the 11th house with the DC node. And the AC node is a little bit further, because it's 19 minutes itself from entering house 5, or Kabel rather, for entering Kabel. But the DC node is a lot closer, 15 minutes within, being perfectly designated as having crossed the boundary into house number 11. So that is the order of the planets as they are now. So we are going, let me take a significant observation, and it just happens that we don't have the countdown. The countdown has we have a bit of a connection issue, so our countdown timer isn't counting, but we'll get there. Because of a connection. We'll by the time we get there, but I can assure you, because I know when we will be celebrating that, we have still about 50 minutes. We have 50 minutes to the point in time where we will be crossing into the new week. And as the clock will count down to that, we will be able to speak significantly as we ought to. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is the planetary maps. We're going to look at the major planets and look at how they are. But before we do, we look at this week's major planetary junctions. Let's look at the major planetary junctions where we left them last week. And this is the graphic that should be showing on your screen. And I hope that my pointer too is showing. And this is where we left the planets at the midpoint of the week. We looked at Jupiter and Venus in conjunction here and the cusp of entry to house 11. I have a suspicion that some of the things we talked about yesterday, if you looked at our Neoteran Astrological Community's daily announcement group, is that we are talking about the start of this millionaire class. So you're coming to you in week 39, week 38, at the beginning of week 38, and really towards the end of it, there was no person in the world who could have said they are a trillionaire. In fact, but today we do have that designation. And I was talking to if you looked at my latest post, I was saying that was not just accompanied, but that was just Elon Musk getting to be a trillionaire. There were also other people who had invested in that company. Some of them are actually members of his, they're just members of staff of SpaceX. Some of them are just cafeteria workers. Some years ago, they were given the choice to either receive bonuses or in cash form. And some of them were given, they also given the option to either not receive bonuses for the work. They were given the option to take equity or shares in the company. Those who took shares are now, many of them, millionaires. Almost everyone of them. So shareholders and some of our employees of SpaceX, there are not many who are not millionaires, except those who maybe opted to receive cash bonuses. But the ones who opted for equity in the company now are millionaires. Well, all of them, because the share price is depending on how many shares they had. Many of them, hundreds of them. So this is a planetary worry. We are talking about the moon, just about to catch up with planet Saturn. Jupiter, Mars as the main, in house 8, the major planet in house 8, and the sun really inching its way towards the exit of house number 9. Mercury was here, reaching the utmost of its separation from the sun. And as I've said, this conjunction was there. So those are the major planets. How are the major planets this week? Let's take a look now. Here you go. And this is the state of affairs now. And as you can see, there's a big change in the designation of what Mercury is. Mercury has come to a standstill. Heretofore you shall come, but no further, the sun is saying. And then we have the moon just about to conjoin with Jupiter who is just at the cusp of entry to house 11, and then Venus. And I'm almost certain the reason why we have, could actually be the reason why, I was trying to look at where possibly between the year that Elon Musk was born, Jupiter could not have been here. Because I know for certain that about 8-9 years later, that is when it would have been here. So it was in another direction. But we are going to profile Elon Musk, and you're going to know why he chose this point in time to become a member of the trillionaire class. I'm certain there were many other options he could have chosen, but chose this particular one. So that is the state of affairs of the planet. The sun is not yet close enough to be on the cusp of entry to house 10 at the midweek point, but by the end of the week, I'm certain it will have come close enough to moving to house 10. There is planet Saturn really inching its way beyond the midway point of house 8. That one, no. This is not Saturn. This is Mars. Saturn is really, by the way, still in the midway point of House Habizelda. And much later, at the beginning of the next year, at least, the planet Saturn will do a retrograde, and but that retrograde will not be adequate enough for it to come even close to the cusp of house number 6. So it will be within Habizelda. And there'll be some more retrogrades, at least 2 more that are going to come here. But we know for certain planet Saturn is going to be here for quite a while, for close to 3 years. We just did the transition that indicates. So those are the major planets. And let's just take a little bit of a break as you look at the minor planets. So what you can see on your display is those are the minor planets. These are the minor planets depicted in their motions around the celestial heavens. And this is, as it were, last week we have the retrograde of planet Pluto in Cabell, and we have the anti-solar point here towards the just after midway point. We have the ascending node, that is the ascending node of the moon here in house 6, inching its way, so to a point where it can be in Cabell. And then we have these 2 minor planets that are in Habizelda, that is Neptune, and as well as not Uranus, but Vesta. Neptune and Vesta. And then you have Ceres and Uranus here. And then here we have Aries. Actually, this is not a very good accurate description of the position of Aries, so this week we did correct that. And then we have this planetary body, the lunar descending node, making its way towards entry into house 11. So those are the minor planets as they were last week. And where do we catch them this week? This is where they are. In week 39, the Sun, the anti-solar point, coming very close to transiting into house 4. Pluto still in retrograde in the entry division of Cabell. The lunar ascending node well within house 6, but inching its way towards Cabell. Then here we have planet Vesta, and we have planet Vesta, and here because the tinge of blue, sometimes these colors change a little bit, but I can guarantee you this is Vesta. And then after Vesta we have Neptune, and we have Aries here, now properly positioned. It has not yet made the crossing into house 8, but it's within close enough a position to be influenced. And then we have here Uranus and Ceres, and this is the descending node of the moon, making its way closer to entering house 11, as we remarked about not too long ago. So that is how the planets are, their planetary alignments, their dimensions, and the way they are graphically represented in the celestial heavens, as you may be able to see them. Now we are going to go into the highlights of the week, and how far away are we from the new our connection is not allowing us to display this, but we know we are some 32 minutes, about half an hour, about 41 minutes rather. It's not 31, but it's about 41 minutes to the point in which we will be culminating and we'll be speaking to influence the new week. So the next section we are moving to is the weekly highlights, but I'm going to give you a couple of minutes of a break as I also go and grab myself maybe a small cup of tea. It's going to be more than 3 or 4 minutes. Please enjoy yourself, and let's meet back in about 5 minutes time. Thank you. Welcome back. Sorry for that taking a little bit longer than we had anticipated. We are about just half an hour to the start of the new week, and hope that you can get me clear. Maybe my mic wasn't positioned properly just before then. So what you can get now. So I hope that you can see we are displaying. We come at the point occurs between 2 months, and we are just approaching today being the 27th. Oh, I was talking about 24th. 24th was the middle of the week of week number 38, but we're coming towards date 27. We're on date 27, heading to date 29, or 28th of the month. So there are only 3 more days, 2 more days to come, and we'll count the end of this ninth month. Then we are beginning the 10th month. And the 10th month, as I was speaking about, the ninth month is also significant. The 10th month is also very, very significant for our account, for our uh, for our becoming. And we are talking about this significant week. We're going to talk about it more in the highlights for the week. So that just be enough. And this is the 10th month is a Behemothean month. Always the 10th month does not change characteristics. The Behemothean month. We are beginning that because it's certainly given rise to within the confines of the ninth house. That's why the conjunction that took place, that is going to take place on Monday. This in the ninth month, you're talking about this conjunction here is happening under the sign of Behemoth in house number 9 and giving rise, therefore, to the 10th month that in characteristic and nature and appearance is Behemothian. It has a Behemoth characteristic. So let's look at the highlights themselves. What are the highlights? First of all, this is something you've been saying multiple times. One thing we are introducing is that we're going to be giving, because highlights deal with two things mainly. We are either talking about certain planetary aspects, angular measures between planets are being attained within that time or continuing over that time. Or it could be what we call transit, change from one host to another, one house to another, one celestial phase, cycle phase to another phase. Those are transits. And you're going to see these orange, brown, highlights will indicate transits. But if the highlight is in red, that indicates that it is an aspect. A conjunction is an aspect. So in Habit Zelda, we're continuing this multiplanetary conjunction. It's changing this week. Vesta and Saturn are going to be in perfect conjunction. They're in perfect conjunction, but even more significantly, on Wednesday. On Wednesday, the second day of the 10th month, this alignment, this conjunction, this aspect will attain exact alignment. Again, as I always say, what does this mean? This is very, what there are caveats to this kind of planetary conjunctions, not for everybody. Therefore means we have to check your natal planetary alignments or profile, and we can tell if there is something significant. This one affects you in one way or another, and we'll be able to give you the exact way in which you can so we'd need to know your profile at least to be able to tell you whether this is significant, this is in a good or in a bad sense, or just in a general rather a mundane sense. So Neptune and Aries also continue to be in house and host conjunction in Habizelda. So they share the host of Habizelda, which is Pisces, and they, of course, are in Habizelda. Now, another important thing is that this Venus Jupiter conjunction This prograde conjunction is going to end in just a couple of hours' time. They no longer be in conjunction. We're talking about attaining exact measure last week, and that has happened, but it's ending as we speak. It's coming to an end. The very first few hours of Sunday, the 27th of the ninth month, will mark a point at which Venus and Jupiter will being in conjunction. This conjunction, of course, itself is not in Habizelda. It's towards the cusp of house 10 and 11. Three houses away, 4 houses away from Habizelda, of course. But these are aspects. And it just happens that these are the only major aspects, other than those that have to do with the moon, that you're going to consider for this week as highlights. Or rather, the ones that you feel are consequential. There could be squares, trines, sextiles, other minor aspects, but for the sake of programming of week number 11, these are the only ones that we have considered as being significant to your what. These ones, as again, some of them are very specific, some of them are very general. Right. So what are the highlights out there? Of course, what I mentioned when I displayed the calendar graphic for week number, and I want to be certain that I'm recording. Yes, I'm recording my voice. So this deep sort of brown, orange, or chocolate sort of color indicates for you that you are no longer talking about an aspect, not a conjunction, not a position, not a sextile. It is a transit. And the solstice week is a series of 7 days, as we did demonstrate. And these days don't begin a classic week that begins the first day of the week, which is Sunday, like the week that we're starting. And solstice week is just a series of 7 days that there are 3 days and 3 days that are junctured in a way to put the day of exact alignment of the celestial heavens of the sun at a standstill to be at the midpoint. And because the day of the solstice itself, is on Sunday, it's on Sunday. So the previous days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday will be the day of the exact solstice, and for everybody that is the only day of the solstice. But for us, by the nature, and actually, not just by our own definition, but by the fact that we are calling a solstice, but there's a solstice. A solstice is a standstill, and standstill means there is something that is unchanging for a number of days. So several days, for us 7 days, are significant in identifying a standstill. Let's look at that week again, just to place this one in the correct context. So there's a week we are talking about, beginning on this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then 6 Sunday, date 6 of the 10th month, is the exact alignment of that solstice. And then we have 3 other days on which the positions of the sun will be unchanging. And in this standstill, what is the significance of it? This is not a caveated. There is no limitations to who and why, what you can be able to do about the creative energy that is released at this point in time. So let's go back to our essential highlights that we're talking about. The MC, why are we calling MC? Because it comes at the mid-heaven point. Let's look at where the sun is to give this credence and proper understanding. Week number 39, major planetary alignment. So this is the gateway point. This is the gateway point, the celestial gateway point that the sun is going to pass through on Sunday. That is where the sun will be positioned exactly this Sunday, the Sunday that is coming. Of course, not the most immediate one, but the one that will belong to week 40. And on week 40, the sun will have moved in such a way that it will is juxtaposed exactly where the midpoint between house 9 and 10 and the beginning of house number 10, that is one of the four creative gateway, collective creative gateway pi. We call them celestial because there are others that are of similar nature that are on the terrestrial, that are attached to each one of you. So wherever you go, with your positioning and your anatomy and everything, you have four gateway points that align with the celestial heavens, the points of the compass, not exactly the points of the compass, because some of them are upper mid-heaven, lower mid-heaven, then the eastern gate, and what we call the western and the eastern gate. So these ones align to these points in the celestial heaven, and they are there to help us understand how to harness and cause influence in the celestial heavens. I'm gonna reach a bit of feedback about my audio, so I'll have to change a little bit of the way I am monitoring the audio here. So yeah, that's accomplished. And because of some of the what will not be able to give us a countdown, the countdown that I'll give you is not going. I'm going to be able to mark it on my own end, but will not be able to because of the connectivity issue that we are having there. I'm at a very rural place, and the connection that we have is not allowing us to be able to configure the online tool that we use to crack time and display it for you. So you'll have to trust me. I know the time that is there, and I know that right now we are just less than 20 minutes away. We are 18 minutes away from the beginning of the new week, and that is a sign for me that I'll need to move very quickly, do the announcements. So not through the announcement, but through the highlights. So let's go back to the slide. We're talking about the highlights, and here we are. So the medium solstice, the medium Chile solstice is the sun's medium Chile celestial creative gateway transit. That means in the sun's tropical cycle, it will do 4 creative gateway transits. There's a 4th one, and it has significance in the change in of creative power. But because the sun is also the main programmable celestial body, and it acts as a template for all the other bodies, that means there is a significant energy, especially that affects the course of affairs over the entire year. That is only reached when the sun aligns with the specific gateway points. And for this week, this is the 4th celestial creative gateway of the transit of a sun's cycle, the tropical cycle. The sun's creative cycle, the cycle that is programmable for creative purposes, is the tropical cycle. And when the sun aligns with these creative gateway points, there's a 4th one of the 4. It denotes a change. Now, another important point, because of understanding the primacy of the sun and its cycle, we use this point for a pilgrimage. We have 2 pilgrimage points across the year, and you go to the point that we call Taunet. Taunet is a national African language name for a place. It was named, it is the genesis point that gives us an alignment to celestial heavens for harnessing and causing influence. And those of us who already know, who are practitioners, know, because we already have a setup for people who are going to go with us to this pilgrimage. Is going to be one of the most significant ones, because you're coming at the entry of a new priesthood, the dispensation and mandate, and it is just so special in so many ways that I cannot speak about. So the nature of that pilgrimage, so let me just go back a little bit to that statement, is that we use this point in time to harness creative energy, to use that energy, and that energy should suffice for us for a whole 12 months. So the 10th month, next year, the 10th month, we'll have another point in time where the day of pilgrimage will fall in the 10th month, and we need to make again a pilgrimage because that point in time gives us access, that place in time gives us access to the creative energy we need, a particular facet of creative energy that we need to enforce the creative, objectives, desires, and programs that we have within our community. Now, this is actually week 39. This slide is talking about week 38. It shouldn't. We are talking about week 39. Week 38, we spoke about it last week. So we need to change that a bit of that. We're talking about week 39 here. We're talking about week number 39, not week number 38. And we are looking now to the last major planetary highlights without the moon. So another important change that is happening is this significant, and this is also a very great news. This is a great piece of news, breaking news of that nature, is that on Saturday, towards the tail end, the last day of the week, the 5th, before we go into the 6th day, where we will be doing that transition, is that another transit is going to happen. This is an ordinary transit because it's going into house 11. There is Jupiter. Jupiter is already on the cusp of entering house 11, so really within the influence of house 11. And the host that is the one that has significance towards the entry division of house 11, and that is Cancer, the crab, happening on Saturday. This planetary transit is happening. There is a shift we're going to see. Now, a Jupiter's celestial planetary transit into a Neoteran celestial house represents a shift in general. Sorry for a bit of that because it seems like I've not been able to. My mic failed for a bit of a while. I don't know for how long you were not able to reason to me or hear me. But I was talking about this celestial transit. Now you can get me, maybe not as clearly as I would have loved, but we're using a patch-up sort of a mic. But I'm talking about Jupiter's celestial planetary transit into Neoteran celestial house number 11. And I said any celestial planetary transit of the planet Jupiter is significant for us because it represents a shift in generational regal mandate. And that means there's a generation of people with regal mandate. Regal mandate talks about things like kings associated with territory. It speaks about luxury. It speaks about reigning. It speaks about rulership. It speaks about domination, dominion. And therefore, there is a specific group of people, and this shifts every single year. Every single year, at a point in time, there's a shift. It's taking place in this 10th month, and not just in any 10th month, but during the solar standstill, during the solstice. So that is significant in a very special way. And one of the things is that we moved far ahead with the priestry because the kingly mandate is a complement of the terrestrial of the priestly mandate. And at this point in time, we are moving to we are now shifting a focus because we're not, designating people who have kingly marriage. And let me be well, this is not something I did by design. Actually, I have not taken very careful interest look at who is it that is in the 11th celestial house with their kingly indicator, that is Jupiter. And I checked last night, out of a community as large as we are, only one person fitted that. And would it be? Your astrologer. Your astrologer, yours truly, this voice that is coming to you means I am coming to a point in time when I have astrological significance, and this is exciting news. Perhaps you have some few more. If you have not profiled you, most likely there could be a few people I know that are within what we're just coming to the system and may not have been properly profiled. So this is a very significant change and institutement that we're going to make about who we are and where we are headed to. We are 9 minutes away from the point in time when you must pick to the new week. So you can see the 7 days, these next 7 days are just filled with potency. Not 7 days there because we have the 3 days that don't belong to the, what about 5 days rather, that don't belong to actually the other week. But towards the tail end of this week, we're coming to a very, very special, significant time. And it's about positioning ourselves and about being in a very, point of domination in instituting of the things that we want to institute. Now, because I want us to finish very quickly, let's look at the most programmable of all planetary bodies, the lunar disk, the Serena, the moon. And the moon has, as usual, we've taken this week, we've taken five transits and alignment and aspects of the moon that are important. We begin with one which is this event is a lunar solar conjunction. This is a transit point, or rather, it's really an aspect and also a transit point because it's in the synodic junction of the moon and the sun. The moon are coming together on Monday. That is just a day from tomorrow, but that's the day. Actually, what will give you significant. This is again a publicly accessible creative point that you can be able to appropriate its energy for yourself. This is no caveats. Alongside also that week, as I say, that week also has power to give us access, has given us access to just about anything that we need to appropriate for energy that we can use across the year. And we don't put caveats on solstices of the moon or the sun. Now, we come to another junction of the moon. On the same day that the sun is going to a conjunction hours later, the moon will have moved slightly ahead of the sun, but not sufficiently enough to be considered to be out of, conjunction. Just the conjunction is continuing, the moon will move and align with the same creative gateway transit point the sun will align with. How many days later? About 76 days later. The medium surely celestial creative gateway transit point. Therefore, this time we can call it the MC solstice point, but it's the MC lunar point. This one changes, by the way. This is almost planetary. There's the one of the sun doesn't change. This one, it's a major one, and it's a little bit to the north of the sun. So we're getting even a more extreme of these. What happening? It's a progressive what cycle. It is in the tropical cycle of the moon. Actually, most of the events that the moon does is in the tropical cycle. But as I've said, the tropical cycle has its caveats. The moon may not really essentially be a caveated planet. It doesn't have limitations about what can be said or done really in its Nordic format. So then we have another planetary conjunction that is a Mercury, which is Saturnius, happening in the tropical cycle. The what the I don't know what I'm talking about. Sorry, a little bit distraction. But we're talking about on Wednesday, the second of the 10th month, the second day of this month, we get the planetary conjunction of planet Mercury. It's instantaneous in the tropical cycle. Again, these are three. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They are the same nature, happening within close with each other. That is Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus. That's how they are arranged in the sky. And these ones are conjunctions. You do conjunctions all the time. It's not a really solar conjunction, but the conjunctions of planetary bodies that are sisters and brothers of the moon. So there we are, the whole week. Now we are coming to the most important time. We are how many minutes away from crossing into the year, into the new week? We are only 7 minutes. I'm giving you just a couple of minutes. And in those 2 minutes, I want you to focus on something. I want you to focus on everything you'd like to accomplish. Now, one of the things is, while there are caveats, we believe that the moment of the new week starting is open for programming if we speak in concert together and we agree and we say it is so in the next not too many minutes. If we do it together and we agree, we will bring every good fortune that can be harnessed over the next 7 days to our own aid. So I'm giving you 2 minutes. Think about anything you want to. It can be as big as the entire universe. It could be as small as something that you need in your pocket or in your hands. It could be relate to you personally and selfishly. It could relate to those people you love, your brothers, your sister, your wife, your spouse, your child. It could relate to your business. It could relate to your career. It could be related to your education or career, any progression. And you want it to accomplish within the course of the next 7 days with all that multiplicity of good alignments and changes and transits that are happening in the celestial heavens. Can you make it work for you good? How much you fervently believe when you say it is so at the point in time? That's what's going to happen. I'm giving you just a couple of minutes. Do think about that when we meet just before the week starts. So I believe you have had time to reconsider and think creatively, and we just no more than 2 minutes away from the start of the new week. I want to speak emphatically towards ordering how that week will be for you and for all of us in this point in time. I step boldly into the start of this new week. And at this point in time, I speak for there to be abundance, every form of progression for those who listen and who hear this voice and who apply themselves to the truths that we speak about. And I stand to establish that let there be all sorts of progress, good fortune, and favor, and unmerited inclusion in the places of honor and places of elevation for every one of us.
Thinking about the progress that we need to do, the trip that we are marking, the pilgrimage, that it will be of such resounding success that it will be talked of in the annals of history of this community and this kingdom for years to come. This shall be the week. These are the 7 days in which you shall rise up and become the very kings of this world. And even as that transition happens in the kingly dimension, the beginning, especially from my own perspective, at my own central place in that change, that the establishment of our boundaries, of our territories, of that things that we call our own and we have a dominance and we have the ultimate final voice in, that in these 7 days this shall be accomplished without question, without caveats, and without any roadblocks coming into sense. We speak these things and force them, believing that they are true for all time that is to come. And there's a point I want you to prepare. In 5, 4, 3, 2. It is so, and it is great, and it's amazing, and it's significant, and it's transformative, and it is cosmically significant in our sight. Thank you for speaking those words, believing with me, trusting and knowing that we have a voice that is respected across the entire cosmos. You shall be blessed in your coming, in your going, in everything that you do, when you lie down and when you rise up, when you enter into darkness and when you rise up in light. Blessed are you for all generations and for all time in the cosmos. Have a great, amazing week number 39 of the Neoteran calendar.